Someone who's trying to live stream. I've tried live streaming a lot lately. And I don't have OBS. And I'm trying to live stream for obviously.
Are you using a single camera?
So what I'm doing is I don't edit, like, I'm not learning this. I play in that live stream. The problem is I'm using live stream gameplay. The only way to do that is if I go to Alta and also check out. And I can live stream that.
Well, I'm not sure. We can use this for all of our
So I can. Yeah, I'm gonna actually work because you can also pass to your phone. And then what I could do is I could go to AirMax. Like, should I capture it to my after this app?
Try to see if you can do it that way. That might be a way to do it. And then there's an app, Streamlabs app.
Streamlabs,
Yeah. Streamlabs. So Streamlabs app.
And it's technically the same as OBS, right?
Yeah, it's very similar. The Streamlabs app is Thank you, guys. Right now, it's not the best.
So do I have to?
No, you go to the light.
Alright, sweet.
Yeah.
Well, sounds good.
You're welcome. And if you want to see what's going on here, your advisor class,
I can block that wire. Oxford.
should go Hotspot. So it's on YouTube, just go to Hotspot. I sent the link out to all our teachers. So,
Alright, sweet. Okay, thank you.
hey,
Have a good day.
you're welcome.
Does it not have any certification? Thank you. I'm out tomorrow.
Oh, are you?
Yes, I'm out tomorrow.
I'm not tall enough to make it.
You might also do that. I'll be right back.
Oh, you're right. Oh, yeah, we did No. Literally all the stuff that
I'm here for a donut.
Yeah. I want to like put it on there. These are so beautiful. No, I don't know that. But like last year, except to me, it's so
Are they on my
yeah, right? Did you
This says make clean.
I don't know if I like it. It's not good. Oh, what do you have? That's in there.
Marked absent. Is that marked absent?
You just need to make sure that you sign in if they're the same.
Where's it at?
Should be up front. Just jump machine on top of
Hey, welcome to Meet the Pros. I'm really excited to introduce Mike Query. He is a neighbor and friend. My son loves him, and he's 22, and he thinks Mike's one of the coolest guys he knows. So I think he'll be really great as a mentor. We're really excited to have him to tell us more about data analytics, data science, and the impact it's having in the business world. He's an entrepreneur and super smart, great guy. So welcome, Mike.
Thanks. Let's see if you guys can read this and see what's well. Sorry. You guys remember asking me for my advice? Me neither. So, I don't have a whole lot to tell you about what you should do, and I'm not going to try to. I'm going to share a little bit of my experience. I want to get to know you a little bit, which is kind of hard to do in a big group, but I want to get to know you as much as I feel like I can. So I'm going to tell you a few things about me. Jen said, I'm an entrepreneur and an engineer. Oh, that's better. Nice. A couple things you might want to know about me also. Entrepreneur. We'll talk about a couple things. So we talked about, Jen said we're going to talk about data analytics, and we will. But I've gone through 2 careers in a short amount of time. So we're going to talk a little bit about both of them. And I'm going to let you guys decide. You guys can decide what we talk about and if it's useful to you. All right. Last thing, I love reading, and I have kind of is anybody audible? Anybody listen to books? So I do, and every time, a lot of times people ask me like, hey, did you read, fill in the blank, did you read the last Harry Potter? I got 3 little girls who all into Harry Potter. Did you read the last Harry Potter? And I'll be like, yes. But in my mind, I know you're a liar, because I got read to you. So there's a difference between like real reading and having it read to you, but I kind of feel like close enough to town. So I listen to a lot of books. And one more thing about me. If my spouse was here, so I'm married, I got 3 little girls, she would want me to show you this picture. We all did some stuff in the pandemic we weren't proud of. That was 18 inches of hair growth. This is the same day. Let's see that again. My spouse would want you to ask this question. She would want you to know about physics. This is an important question in physics here. How do you shrink the size of a man's forehead? By cutting his hair. Unknown. Okay, a couple other things, just a few things. A couple of things that really chap my eye.
Translation?
Number 1, you're a mountain biking team. You guys have a mountain biking team? Yeah, I'm pretty annoyed because I go and ride up there. I think that I'm doing good, and you guys pass me up and you weigh like $1.05, and I feel like I'm working hard, and you guys are like chat. So your mountain biking team takes me off. One other thing. Let's see if this will play. Are there any skiers in here? Anybody ski or snowboard? So you can see what this is. That's looking uphill with snowboard. Here's looking downhill. That's the line of Peruvian. That chaps my hat. Nothing worse than looking at that. Alright, a couple other things. You have cats? Any cat lovers? That looks like cute cats, doesn't it? That's that cat that usually does things. Follows me around and moves everywhere in my neighborhood.
What's his name?
Well, real name or fake name? Real name is Calvin. That cat just follows me around. I don't like cats, but I got one. One other thing that's out of my head, dad bod. It's a real thing. Boys, it's coming. So many before pictures, not so many after pictures. Alright. I want to know a little bit about you. Shout it out. What chapter guide?
Government.
What was it? People, generally. Okay. Haunted houses? Okay, haunted houses. What else? Nothing hit? You guys are just really pleasant to be around all the time. Alright, any, that Scott kind of presented in data analytics, any math? People like math? Don't even have to be in math. Physics? Data? Coding? Alright. You know what this is? Fraction, math joke. This is me over time. Alright, I'm going to tell you a little bit about what I did. And then we can talk about some parts, we can tell some stories, and I can show you some of the things that I worked on and tell you a little bit how I got into this. So I want to point out one thing. So I walked into this school, I haven't been in Alta High School in 15 years. Really nice looking school. A lot nicer looking than 15 years ago when Brighton High School was meeting you and everything we ever did. Really nice. So I went to Brighton High School. I then went to the University of Utah. I got a degree in electrical engineering. It took 5 years. Smart people do it in like 3 or 4. Then I got a master's degree in electrical engineering. That took 3 years. Smart people do it in a year and a half or 2. And I learned a couple of things in that experience. One was, there were a lot of kids that were super smart. Like, I thought there were a bunch of kids there that was like math is their first language, English is their second language. They were so smart, and I wasn't one of them. But what I learned is that you can work really hard, and you can learn a lot of things. You can work hard and learn things, and so I kind of feel like when I got out of school was, I learned 2 things. Some people went to school and they got a degree and they learned engineering in my class. I learned engineering and I learned how to work. So that's kind of what I did. That's not I thought the next thing I did was I went into research and development, and I thought when I finished my graduate or when I finished my undergraduate work, I thought I was going to do a PhD. And PhDs are cool, not for me. I learned that a little ways in. I was working in industry at the same time as I was doing research in school. And I realized that in school, I was doing one project that would take 3 or 4 years to complete. And in industry, I was doing about 10 to 15 projects in a year, about the same quality, about the same magnitude. It wasn't as rigorous in industry. Like we didn't in PhD work, you had to like write up every little teeny thing you did. In industry, it was kind of like do whatever you need to do to make it work, and then get on with it. And that's a little bit more my nature. I like that one. So I learned a little bit there. Then I spent 5 years. I started an ultrasonic engineering firm. We can talk a little bit about that. 2 dudes, 1 garage, lots of engineering. And I got a really good mentor, and I can talk about a little bit about finding mentors if you want to hear a little bit about that. After that, I had an exit. That's what the entrepreneurial people like to say is cool, sold part of the business. And I started another business that does data analytics and marketing. So we can talk a little bit about those things, but I kind of raise a hand and see what you're interested in. pictures and slides and stories, but I want to talk about whatever is interesting to you. So this, I spent a bunch of time writing code for this is kind of like arguing on steroids. Plus a little bit of mechanical engineering, like build a sensor, make something move, and oil and gas industry and medical industry a little bit. And this stuff is like marketing and databases and data algorithms and that sort of stuff. And so, quick vote. I saw a couple of hands. Questions? Or thoughts?
I was just going to ask, what was the hardest part about starting up a new business?
Good question. I'm going to tell you a story. Okay, this guy was, his name's Dean Constantine. There may be some of you in here who are related to him. He was my first mentor, first business partner. And I learned something about starting a business from Dean. It was really interesting. His parents were from Greece. He was born here in Salt Lake City. But his parents were in their early 20s. They immigrated here. He was born here. And they both passed away when he was before he was 25, before he had his first kid. And he learned how to survive life on his own in a lot of ways. And so I got introduced to this guy. One of the things that you'll learn about opportunities and starting businesses come from opportunities. It's a lot of it has to do with who you know. I didn't have a lot of natural connections to people. Just say, you have 20 minutes and I can just ask you what you did with your life. How did you get to where you are? What's interesting to you about what you do? So I met a professor that ended up getting me into graduate work in ultrasound. Long story short, that guy introduced me to Dean, and he said, Dean had built a business in the 80s, he sold it in the early 2000s, and then he was trying to decide what to do with his time. He was working in his basement and building stuff because people would call him up. He had a name in his industry. People would call him up and go, "Hey, we've got a hard problem to solve. We want to build a little sensor to do a weird little thing, and nobody else in the world knows how to do it. Will you do it?" And you go, "Okay." And he got a little too busy for what he wanted to do, and so he needed some help. He knew my research assistant, or my graduate advisor knew, and my graduate advisor, looking back on it now, my graduate advisor was like, "You're probably not smart enough to do a PhD." So I got an idea, meet this guy, go work in his basement for a little bit. So I did that. And the thing that I learned about the hardness of getting the question, I remember meeting, in the first few weeks of meeting Dean, I went to work at his house, which was this cool house in Conwood Heights. And we were working in his basement, so it was we'd eat lunch upstairs and make tuna fish sandwiches, and then we'd go downstairs and we'd makeshift lab and build stuff. And somebody called us from France one day, and we were sitting, leaning over his counter, looking at each other, eating our tuna fish sandwiches, talking to these people from France that know his name from someplace. And they said, "Do you know?" I can't do a good French accent. "Did you know how to build a shear wave transducer?" And Dean looked at me, and I looked at him, and we knew, in our eyes, we don't even know what that is. And he goes, "You bet we do." You gotta be kidding. And so we asked him some questions and hung up that phone. And fast forward 3 years later, we were one of maybe 10 companies in the world that could build shear wave transducers for rock core sample testing. Kind of a weird little thing, but there's very few people who can do it. And we ended up being one of them. The hardest thing to do is to believe that you can do something that nobody else knows how to do. It's hard, and the truth is, I think that I learned from this guy that you kind of have this imagination, when you grow up, you go oh, there's the pros, know all the right ways to do things, and they never make mistakes. And it's like, there aren't people like that. Everybody just makes mistakes, and there's some people who are willing to go, yeah, I'll try it. And that's one of the hard things.
How did you try it? Like, how did you teach yourself how to do it?
So we knew the fundamentals. I had a graduate degree in that area of stuff. But you read a lot on the internet, you call people that you know, and you go, how does this stuff work? You have some connections. Like, that's a really good question. But the answer is you just try, you just start. And for us, we had to order some parts, we had to build our first thing, our first implementations of things, try them out, and they never work. It never works on the first time. So you just gotta try a handful of times and be willing to just. Yeah. The truth is, people only ever learn new stuff because they try stuff they don't know. So you can either do that and it's like the first time in the world somebody's learned this thing, or it's just the first time you've learned this thing. Kind of the same thing. Yeah.
What was the difference you had with
Yeah, let me show you. So this is kind of the process. This is a circuit board that controls a. Okay, this is actually pretty close to it. So this is a piece of piezoelectric ceramic. This doesn't look like it. This is gold on the front of this. This is silver on this. They're made out of this ceramic material, kind of like ceramic, like toilet roll. Except what they do, they compress this. It starts with a powder. They smash it down with tons and tons and tons of force, and then they heat it up really hot, and they put a big battery on it, a big voltage charge on either side of this material, and then they let it cool down. And what happens is, if you put a positive charge on this side of it and a negative charge on the other side of it, then it gets a little bit thicker. And if you switch that, so you put a negative charge on this side and put a positive charge on this side, it gets a little bit thinner. So that whole process of heating up, putting a big charge on it, kind of polarizes it. It makes it like a physical type of magnet. It's not a magnet, but it's kind of like that. So it goes like this. And then you put electrical current on it. You can make it do that really fast, faster than you can see, faster than you can hear. That's why it's called ultrasonic, above the speed of sound, above what you can hear. So these are used for, like, probably maybe you've had brothers or sisters, or maybe you're the oldest in the family, your parents got, your mom got an ultrasound. They're used in medical imaging because they can send sound waves, or high frequency sound waves. When they hit something solid, they bounce off of it. So it's kind of like an echo, and then you send out a sound, comes back, you receive a response, and you can measure the time that it takes to do that. So you can say, how long does it take to send a bounce out, get one back, and then you can say, how far away did that thing have been? So take that, do that like hundreds and hundreds of times, you can build an image of something and how deep something is. That's the way you build things for the first time. And it's cheap. It's super cheap. So this is the first version of circuit control that they can send out a wave. They wanted to do these guys, so they're interested in principle. They were interested in drilling down these big oil cores, pulling out a piece of rock that's a mile away from the ground. They're trying to test to see if there's oil in these. Find that out by testing the mechanical properties of the rock. So you put two sensors on either side of it, and you send a wave down, and you can measure how long it takes that wave to get to the other side, and that can tell you what the material is, and if there's oil in there. So that's what they were interested in doing, building those type of sensors. So we had to build the sensor, build the board to send the waves, and then build software to measure the time. Yep.
How do you get, like, you constantly switch between a positive and a negative? Like, how do you get that to switch so it'll activate?
Yeah, so it's a good question. That's what the purpose of the circuit is to do. The circuit puts out pulses So that's what this job, the circuit creates a positive and a negative. The positive and negative switches it real quick for you.
You don't actually use that, you just use it.
Yeah, that's what the circuit does. So these are pretty delicate systems. This is the first version of the board. Here's the second version of the board. Sometimes I look at this and I go, man, did you actually build that? And I go, yep. Did it work? Kinda. And this, we have to build these things that are magnifying glass. So all of them, you can't see those little pins, they're all little pieces. So you get a little soldering iron that melts metal. Underneath the magnifying glass, you melt the metal, you touch each one of those little pins, and it attaches it to the different parts on the board. And all these little lines are the copper that are connecting the different parts of the circuit together. And that's what actually runs the software part. Say, send out a signal, see how long it takes to get back to the other side. Now we know it takes 1/100,000th of a second. And then we can say, oh, because this is this type of rock, now we know how long it takes sound to travel on that rock. There's a likelihood that we have to. Yeah. Thanks. Yep.
High frequency sound wave more used
Good question. So, short answer is, the higher the frequency, the more accurately you can measure the time. If it's low frequency, then the time you switch that, it takes a long time, so it may take as much time to switch the signal as it takes for the sound to get there and back, which means you can't measure the sound, the distance very accurately. Let me show you a couple more things. We just got a couple minutes left. This, I don't know if you'll be able to see this. This stuff is pretty delicate. Working in a lab, you have to stand on mats. They're static. You touch this and there's a little bit of static on your body. It discharges through the circuit. You break the whole thing. Now you got to start back over and solder every single one of those 100 things around that microscopic board. Which is so many. And the worst thing is you don't know it's broken. You're like, it works, and you go plug it in, it doesn't work. You're like, oh, which thing did I connect? Was there a teeny little hair someplace? Like, that's a pain in the butt. So they're delicate, right? You won't hear the sound on this. This is going. Oh yeah. This is the delicate work.
Verification of the bond process. We can say that try other measures, and pulverizing it seems to be the only way to get it off.
So that's undoing something. You built something, you built it well, and you have to take it apart. And it's supposed to be delicate. You're just smashing it to get these ceramic pieces off of a piece of metal. A couple other things, we'll zip through these. A couple other things we built. This is a flow sensor. So you take two of those sensors, you put them on either side of a piece of pipe, and when water's flowing, this direction in the pipe, so sound goes like this. Shoots over from here, gets listened to by here. When water's flowing this way, it makes the sound move a little quicker. When it's going this way, and the water's flowing this way, the sound goes a little slower. It takes a little longer time to get from here to here, when water's going this way, than it takes for the sound to get from here to here, when water's going that way. Because the water carries it, right? It's a mechanical process. I'll come to your question in a second. So you can measure how much water is going through because you can measure how fast that water is moving by the difference in sound or the difference in time to get from one side to the other side. So that's a flow sensor, one that will sound. Oh, so it depends. There's two different ways. You can send them where you say like shoot, and like the time where they measure the those ones are send and receive at the same time. These ones are send from one side, this one on the other side. Also depends. Some are better at listening, some are better at sending. Alright, a couple other things. I want to give you just like 1 or 2 minutes of data science. So this, you might go, how the heck did these things connect? How will this concept connect to data science and marketing? The answer is not very. But you kind of learn new things, and it's kind of fun. There are some similarities. One of the things that you have to do here is you have to write software that can measure those times and process the signals. processing the signals is the same as doing data analysis. So the company that I have today has folks that do these sort of things. I just want to give you a flavor for what the types of jobs are. They have people who know web. We have people who know web technology, who know how to get data collected, so they know how to like write code, put it on a website, and track when somebody adds something to their cart. We have data engineers who know how to take that data out in big, huge volumes of it, and then ask questions like, if we showed the picture of the pink shirt versus the blue shirt, how many more times does somebody add that product to their cart? You think you're free? You think you're choosing your own choices? No. Internet's controlling. And these people are deciding, how do we make it click on things? Kind of crazy that there's so much money in figuring out blue shirt versus green shirt. Which one gets more clicks? Tons of money. Then we have people who build reports and know how to like build a pretty dashboard that shows data. And then we have people who know how to like analyze that and say, what is the most important thing to look at? That's kind of the flavors of the jobs and the backgrounds here. So web tech, databases and cloud architecture, kind of like art meets science visualization tools, and then like business analysts sort of those. Yeah, 60 seconds. Let me show you. I'll tell you one quick funny story. This is probably what your mom would want for Mother's Day, right? A big picture of your face on a mug.
Oh, yeah.
I thought so. Your mom's probably thinks so too. So these guys, what we do right now is we build technology that looks for errors in data collection. So here's an example where you might want to say, we want to show, some company wants to say, we want to show an ad, we want somebody to click on this ad, we want to see a picture of our product. All this stuff matters, like if you say offer ends the 2nd of May, or if you say 3 interest-free payments for, oh, look how many dollars you're saving, by 10 times. All that stuff matters. And we help these guys not make mistakes in the way they collect their data and save millions. So that's another thing.